morning, peeps. Welcome to another vlog. Actually, I was hoping to have a quick little tea with you just to start this morning off and talk about what's going on. So one thing that I definitely know we have to do today is we're doing some rough-ins. We're going to a brand new job site. It's just starting in the project. I think there's a bathtub involved or a shower or something like that and a couple of other fixtures, so we're off to do that. But one thing I've just been kind of contemplating about is plumbing in general. And here's the question that I have. If humans never came up with the conception of cylinders and also slope, how else would plumbing take place? I know they used to have these sort of outhouses sort of things where you kind of just dumped it into a hole. But man, I've just been contemplating the entire thing altogether, because what's really awesome is that we are still building upon what the ancients have started, right? You can find in ancient Rome and in ancient Greece some of the earliest plumbing systems that ever existed. So, I don't know. I've just been in my head this past week thinking to myself, you know, it's an interesting trade, but it's a really old trade if you really think about it. So, let me know down in the comments below what sort of systems you could come up with that don't use slope and cylinders, or outhouses, I guess. Would be an interesting kind of thought experiment, in other words. So let's go on another plumbing adventure. Peeps, let's get to work. Let's have some fun. Oh, and by the way, peeps, you know what to do, baby. Let's go do some delicious plumbing. Peeps, we are in the job site right now. There are a couple of things I want to talk to you all about, because there are a few things I ran into in the past that were a little bit difficult for me. I want to sort of go through them very briefly. Maybe I'll give you a couple of tips and pointers so that if you ever have to deal with a laser and a high-end finish like a Grohe shower valve that I'm about to show you, maybe this will help you. So here's what we have, okay? So we basically have a stand-in shower, okay? So it's already framed. That's the drain that's put over there. And then we have a Grohe shower control valve, okay? These units right here, very expensive, and they require a lot of precision. When you have fixtures that are higher end, especially when it comes to the finishing stage, it really has to be all square and ready to go, because if it's not, it starts to show on the plates, and you know, it kind of takes away from the overall aesthetic. And if you're going for a high-end aesthetic, that means the rough-in face has to be really precise as well. Okay, so here's what we have. Here's the original shower valve. This is your temperature control, and it is the diversion up to your 3-ray diverter. Okay, so your left diverter goes down to the toe test right here, okay, which is right above the drain. The second diverter goes up to your shower head. The third diverter goes to your handheld shower. A lot of connections, a lot of copper. So I used a laser in order to line everything up, because it's really hard to make sure that everything is dead center. And when it comes down to this sort of finish, you want everything to be center and square. I'm going to show you how I do it, and maybe you guys can give me tips in the future on how you would do it, or if you're already using lasers, if it's the same method or if there's a different method. I'm all ears, but let me show you what I did, and then we'll take a look at the way it lines up, okay? Okay, so as you're going to see on the floor, there are a couple of marks that I put down that give me an understanding of where I've got to line up, okay? So here's what I typically do. What I typically do is I measure the width of the shower, I divide it by 2. We got about 37 1/8, okay? And you know what? It's pretty much almost the same everywhere around. So what I'll do is I'll come over and I'll get 1/18 and 1/16 past half, and I'll make a mark. And I do the same thing, 1/18 and 1/16 past half, which should equal to 37 1/8 if you multiply it by 2. So I make multiple marks on the floor. Here's what you have to know about lasers. That what I've found in the past, and that has really frustrated me, if you're even like a 1/16 off, what's going to end up happening is your laser is going to be dead on the first measurement, but it's going to deviate and you're actually not going to be square. So you have to have multiple marks to ensure that you're square. I'm going to set up the laser so you can see, and then we'll look at the shower valve and see how it ends up, okay? Alright, so here's the laser, okay? Remember my first mark, we're following this one, okay? This mark right here catches that, you move forward, you pick up this one, you catch that one, laser hits center of this. I want you to notice this clip right here. If I didn't place this clip right here, this was actually off center. So by putting this clip right here, I was able to actually change the direction of this shower 90 so that it was square to the laser. Notice that it hits the center of the drain as well. You come up, hits the center of the first shower control, hits the center of the diverter, goes all the way up, hits the center of the shower head. And even if you follow along, you'll notice that it comes to the center of the pot light. It took me a long time to figure this out and figure out how to use these lasers, but they're crucial because not only can it tell you center of drain, it can also tell you square to you. If this wasn't square to the shower, what would end up happening is the bottom center would be off. You wouldn't see a center line on the bottom. It would either be deviated left or deviated right. Same thing with the top. You wouldn't see a center on the top. It would be deviated left and deviated right. So it's actually pretty good to find your center and make sure it's square to you. And same thing with this. So if you follow this line, you'll notice it hits center on top, center on bottom, center on top, center on bottom. So peeps, I just wanted to show that to you so you can understand how I typically line it up to make sure that it's pretty good. One thing you have to be aware of with the laser, you got to make sure it's not hitting your eye. So whenever I do place the laser down, I make sure to cover it from the top because it's going to shoot up and hit your eye if you don't, okay? So make sure you place it down covering it so it's not blasting you in the face and you're good to go. Briefly talk to you about what a shower liner is. It's like a rubber membrane that gets put onto the shower floor and comes up about a foot high and wraps around, and it actually connects to the drain itself so that if water gets into the grout and underneath the tile, it actually drains towards the drain and goes inside the drain as well. It's a very cool system. We don't do a lot of them, so it's a really big blessing that I'm able to show it to you right here. Let's get to work. I hope that was useful to you. Let's go do some delicious plumbing. Okay, and just like that, the shower liner is done. There's a couple of things I want to say before we move on. I really want to show you all how a Grohe shower control valve goes in. So there's a second one that's going to be installed in this unit right here, and I'm going to do my best to get that all on tape for you all, because there's a lot of different variables involved in making sure that it goes in and is totally square. You also have to level it. That's what I didn't show you. You also have to verify if this was a level. You got to take the level, you got to put it on the face and make sure it's actually level. So there's a bunch of different variables when installing shower valves, especially these high-end ones. Like I said, you got to be very meticulous. You have to constantly be verifying the variables to make sure that you didn't accidentally set them off, because from time to time you'll realize that you installed something a certain way which shifted the control valve from being square. So again, I have to stress there's a lot of variables. You got to constantly be aware of them and also be double and triple checking them as you move along. I'm gonna grab some lunch and we're gonna head on to our next job. Let's go. Okay, peeps, I got some excellent news. We are actually in shape to do the shower control valve that I was talking about before. This is another Grohe. It doesn't have a three-way diverter like the other one. It's just gonna have the original control valve, which is gonna be a temperature control, and will give you options as to where to divert it as well. You're gonna have one for the shower head, you're gonna have one for the toe test, and you're gonna have one that turns off the entire unit. So let me show you what we're looking at right here, okay? So we have the wood already supported. We got one piece there for the toe test. These two pieces hold on to the shower control valve itself, and then we're going to divert up to the shower head just like so. We're going to have hot coming in this way, cold coming in this way. Now let's quickly talk about the laser and the measurement and how I figured out my center. Here we go. Okay, so I ended up deconstructing this measurement right here because I didn't have a good wall. I didn't have a good place to constantly take a measurement off. One of the hardest parts about doing construction is that when you're trying to take a measurement off of a wall, you are hoping and praying that that wall doesn't deviate from its squareness or it doesn't protrude out anywhere. You're hoping that it is one flush wall, but what you'll notice, especially with studs, as you see behind me, they're old. We don't have new ones currently installed, so each one's gonna give you a different measurement if you're trying to aim for the same number. So for example, 28.5 off of this one will be different than this one because of their rust and their kind of deformed a little bit. So what I ended up doing was going off this cement wall right here. It's got a better foundation. It's obviously not square perfectly either, but you got to do your best and try to get the measurement you're aiming for. So here's what I did. We currently have a drain already here, so we want our shower control valve to be center of this drain. So what I did was I took my laser, I placed them down into the center of the drain just like so, and I used these two holes as my measurement for the center of the drain. Okay, so they perfectly go in line. And then this is what I did, because if you'll notice this line, I put a dot here. I have one connection here, but it's a little bit off of that guy. So here's what I did. I took my tape and I looked at where exactly the laser is hitting on my tape, which is approximately 28.5. You see that red line touching the half mark? So I know at the center of this drain, we're looking at a 28.5 off of this back wall right here, okay? As I move forward, I'm trying to get the exact same measurement. So if you look here, it's off. It's 28.3/8. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna adjust the laser just a touch in order to get 28.5, okay? Hold that there, leave it, and I'm just gonna adjust the laser just a tad, okay? Now we're looking at 28.5 right there, which is right on the black line that I put just like so. We got 28.5 over there as well. So we're pretty darn close to having everything square right here. Okay, so now take a look at the line. Let's follow it really quickly. The line goes here, catches every dot that I was aiming for. One there, one there, one there, and then one over there. Follows up. I ended up chalking down a line with a Sharpie to follow that right there. And as you come up, as you see, we're off with our shower valve. We're gonna have to move this guy over so he's center, but I did chalk that line. And as we come up, that's where it's gonna be for our shower head. I chalked that line with a Sharpie as well. I hope that made sense, but that's how I work with the laser to make sure that we are dead center to the drain. I'm gonna have to do the adjustments for the shower control valve to make sure it's dead center. Let's go ahead and get a bunch of this stuff prepared for this to happen. Let's go. Alright peeps, so quick little update, just want to show you whereabouts we are at. Okay, so laser setup comes towards the center. That's our copper pipe. Center of the control valve goes up. Now I had to cut this pipe short because that's a different level than where that pipe is, so I'm gonna have to shoot it out a bit with maybe a fitting 90 and a regular 90 up. Now what I gotta do is get a shower 90 up there, shower 90 down there, and then I can go ahead and connect these bad boys right here. One thing I gotta point out is I'm actually going to put a 90 out, 90 down, only because they say not to solder minimum of 4 inches from this guy. If you went straight down, the distance from the valve and the plastic to the length of this pipe is shorter than 4 inches, so I shot it out a bit. I'm gonna go up, come back in, and then move back up. And this guy is a good enough distance to go straight into 90 all the way up to this guy. Put a coupling there, and then we test it. So let's go. Okay, so here we are, final product before pressurizing. A couple of things that I typically do. First of all, I get a rag, I wipe off all the joints because the paste will corrode the pipe eventually. Whenever you see a pipe turn greenish, that's because paste hasn't been wiped off in the past. So you typically wipe your joints, make sure that they're not gonna turn green in time. And the second thing I do is I grab this mirror, I check my joints. I'm gonna show you a couple of them. Okay, a couple of things that I wasn't able to really show you because I was running out of battery is this. There's a couple of things in the leveling of the shower control valve that I just want you to pay attention to. So check this out. So by looking at the laser, you're able to tell that it's square, but one thing you're not able to tell is the level of it. So that's a crucial measurement right there. You got to make sure that it's level face-wise. That way it doesn't deviate any which way up or down. If it does, the valve itself will be facing upwards or downwards. Got to make sure it's level that way, or else you could run into some issues in the finishing stage. Thankfully it's good. I'm gonna go ahead and test it. So peeps, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. Let me know if you've ever done a Grohe valve before and if you found this useful, and I'll see you plumbers very soon. Kenny Molotov, guys. Peace, baby.